kicking for you like it's 9-3. You see, Rob impact the mic, keeping it real, G. Talk about relationships, money, and health. Dropping knowledge while I'm spitting it, that's a wealth.
Complex conversations, we break it down. Pop culture topics, we hold it down. Dive deep into society's complexities. Educate, entertain, never rest in it. Complex
Context, where the truth unfolds. Analyzing life through stories untold. Rob impact, dropping knowledge every day.
Unpacking life's complexities, one topic at a time. You're listening to Complex Context. Here is your host, Rob Impact.
Welcome to Complex Context. I am your host, Rob Impact, and I'm very happy that you're here to check us out for another episode of bantering back and forth about life and some of the concerns, some of the arguments, some of the blessings, all of that. We kind of go back and forth sometimes, and that's what we're here about. We deal with some of the complex issues that we want to provide some more context about. Quite an explanation, isn't it? If you're a first-time listener, I want you to understand we try and be chill about what we're talking about. This is about just human relatability here. If you're a repeat listener, thank you again for your commitment, your loyalty. We appreciate that greatly. And we're always open to feedback and suggestions. We'll give that contact later on in the show. But hey, your week has gone by. It's been just crazy quick. And it's kind of weird when I say that because in the thick of the week, it seems like there are points where it goes unbelievably slow. And I felt that during many times this week. Though here we are again talking with each other. It's amazing how you have certain stop points in the week that just seem like they won't go quicker than they really should, and other points in the week where you're trying to slow down, enjoy it, and you blink and it's over with. So we are together again, and I'm looking forward to this week's episode. We have some serious stuff that I want to get off my chest, and maybe you have some relatability about. Don't be shy. Let me know one way or the other what you think, but welcome all. Let's get going with this. We had a previous episode where I talked about anxiety and the struggles that I've gone through with it, and I have to say over the past week, I've kind of revisited that, and I want to kind of get off my chest some of the feelings and thoughts that I've had over the past week and really just kind of use this platform as a sounding board. And maybe you're somebody that has relatability to this, and there's nothing wrong with that. So last year around this time, I had issues with panic attacks. It was very sudden, very humbling, and I really felt like I was revisiting an issue that I thought was well past me, not realizing that for some folk, like myself, you never really get away from it. You can just manage it really well for a long time, and I've taken steps since that time to really improve my life and improve my outlook on it and try and take resources that are available through all kinds of different means, audio, video, books, anything you could think of that I thought would be helpful. It relatively has been in very different ways. I've also incorporated home yoga, which I do look forward to, and is easier some days than others, but I suppose that's typical for most physical workouts or physical goals that somebody is looking to achieve. So I do enjoy it nonetheless, and I'm very grateful for a lot of the resources which I continue to check in with and seek advice and guidance from every so often, more regularly than not. The past week has just kind of been a roller coaster. I, for the first time since last year, had a good time nonetheless, but it was a field trip, so to speak, with my daughter and me going on the subway to Boston. I had a great time with her. We got a lot of good things and we really enjoyed time together, but I would say on the first half of the ride up, and please keep in mind that this is a transportation system that I've been very familiar with since I've been 17. I've been taking it that long and by myself, and I have no issues with getting around appropriately. So for some reason, the first half of the trip, I kind of had low-key nervousness, a little bit of anxiousness, and it really wasn't justified. My daughter is 9.5. She's awesome. Very, very smart. We have phones with us. I knew that safety wasn't an issue, but I put in my head the what ifs of, what if I feel like I'm going to have the onset of a panic attack during my way up? And is it going to be something that overwhelms my daughter? Or is she going to be able to help out knowing that she's aware of her dad and what he's gone through over the past year? And that kind of makes me sad in the fact that I don't want that to be ever present. I know she has her own things with growth going on. So to know that I wasn't able to fully shield her from my obstacles, that kind of hurt myself, but I know it wasn't intentional by any means. So it wasn't until we were in Boston proper and getting to a particular subway station that I said, hey, we're good. I don't really have to worry about anything. And at that point on, I was definitely much better. Still kind of a physical heightened sense of awareness. And I don't know if I'd say anxiousness at that point or if I would just say on guard for whatever reason. But that remained a little bit. It wasn't as noticeable or wasn't as impactful as the first half of the trip. And I was able to enjoy myself, and we both did. And we eventually went back after we did some shopping, and it just really was a good time. I really appreciated it. But once I got back, you would have thought that I ran a marathon. I was on the couch, very worn out. And granted, we did do kind of a bit of jumping around. We went to one of the city Target stores. We grabbed a small bite before we got back on the train. So we did a little bit of bouncing around. But I just expected to have more energy, I suppose, when I returned back. And I'm trying to convince myself, listen, you're only in your early 40s. It's okay to be a little bit tired. But I felt like I was, the degree of how tired I was, it didn't really seem justified in comparison to the physical nature of what we were doing. And I don't know why that was, other than as the days went on and talking with my wife, that maybe it was the falling out from psyching myself up so much. And why did I? Why did I allow myself to get in my own head, knowing that if anything was wrong, I had a phone with me. I have a very smart young girl with me. I don't think I would have been in a bad situation. And excuse me if it seems like I'm kind of taking my time with my words. You have to understand, or at least try and comprehend, that somebody that keeps revisiting this type of thing every now and then, it can take a toll on you. And sometimes it's harder than what it should be to revisit these details. But I want to be open and honest for people that might experience the same thing or have similar situations, and at least know it's not you. So what did I feel like? I felt a little tight. In the muscles, my torso was just very tight, very on guard, and like I said, it did loosen up once we were halfway to the destination, and it stayed pretty good after that. But once you have that kind of go away and then you get home, it's really like a come down, and it doesn't just always last a day. For me, it lasted quite a few days, and I got frustrated. I really did. And there are still moments as we're recording this that I am frustrated with myself. I don't know if it's I expect better from myself, and knowing how hard that I've committed to seeking out resources and following up with certain people on a regular basis to check in with how I'm doing and make sure that I'm getting what I need to get. There's some amazing people, I will say, that I've met and have talked to and really have seemed connected with, listening to me, hearing me out, and trying to ensure that what I'm doing or what may be recommended is appropriate. So the doctors and behavioral specialists, those folks are just amazing. And I will say, even prior to, kind of the height of this a year ago, I had gone to therapy before, and I think it's good for people to at least consider it. It's not for everybody, and there are times where it's difficult. So I don't want to put it out there and say, hey, just do it because it's good. It's going to be different things for different people. But I just expected, I suppose, at this point, a year later, to be more sure of myself and know that I am okay. After a multitude of tests months ago just to check on certain things, all these things were coming back fine. And that was reassuring in itself, that I didn't have to worry about certain things. No cardiac concern, no concern with just regular metabolic panel type of stuff. I did find out a little kind of quirky thing with pituitary gland, which if you don't know, please look that up on the internet. It's involved with your brain, and my pituitary had this thing on it, thankfully benign, nothing crazy, but it was messing with my hormones. My testosterone was unbelievably not respectable, and I do think that had a definite factor in it as far as just the onset of the perfect storm, so to speak. So thankfully, you get the MRI, the brain's working, you get the imagery back, and you're like, holy cow, that's kind of cool to see your brain. And to know that there's something to kind of help just make sure that what's there doesn't keep interfering with regulating your hormones. I have to tell you, I would never think at this point I would be so invested and so appreciative of hormonal regulation. But after having found that out and taking that, I have to say it's a definite thing. Folks, if you're reaching your 40s or beyond and you've never had any kind of testing or inquiry about your hormones, I would absolutely recommend you bring it up to your doctor and just get it checked out. You never know if that's going to be a contributor. So back to the matter at hand, I had a few days after the trip up to Boston with my daughter where I just was kind of out of it. And I was experiencing some brain fogginess again and some headaches, and I just felt unsure about myself. I felt unsure because I felt like I've come so far just to put myself in a position where I psyched myself up for no reason and kind of caused myself to get back to a place where I didn't need to be. It was the what ifs. And there's one thing that I've learned during this journey over the past year is what ifs are things that haven't and may never happen. So I'm concocting these things in my head about, what if this happens? Or am I going to be okay? What if I get panicky? And I'm psyching myself out before I even get to park at the subway station. So it kind of was me being my own worst enemy. And that's something that I know somebody in my position shouldn't do. It's easier said than done. For whatever reason, some days it's totally easy and you can just tell yourself, as I try to all the time, listen, you're fine. Don't pay attention to the noisiness, inner voice that is trying to psych you out. There's a whole psychology behind this, and I would highly recommend for anybody going through similar anxiety issues. There's a great couple of podcasts from Dennis Simsek. He's called The Anxiety Guy. One of his podcasts is called The Anxiety Guy, and the other one is a health anxiety podcast from him. But Dennis Simsek has been a great resource. There's been a couple of other ones. I don't want to get too far down the road of so much promotion that you're like, I don't get it. Is this complex context, or is this like a multi-pod advertisement? No, it's not that. But again, I want to share this information if it's helpful to you. Also, there is a book that I'm trying to finish. I am horrible with trying to get back to it, but my bookmark is looking at me like, when are you going to get back? There's a book called Anxiety RX and a podcast by the same name. It's from Dr. Russell Kennedy. He is also a great resource for any kind of anxiety issues or insight. So I would recommend those two to anybody who may be interested. But especially with those two sources and some of the other ones, you get this sense of, hey, a lot of this is in your own head, and the cause of a lot of your panic or anxiety is it's a physical thing. It's not necessarily a mental thing. So why is that? That seems, and I don't want to say it's just one or the other. I think they absolutely work in tandem, but I guess the point is it doesn't always start with the mental. Sometimes it starts with the physical. And I can be totally honest with you. It started with the physical for me last year because my left side, kind of like the left side of my left pectoral and my arm just didn't feel right sometimes. And I didn't know if I was having a cardiac event. And with good reason, I have, of course, because why wouldn't you have a host that has all kinds of craziness going on, a genetic heart valve defect that I get checked every 2 years with a simple echocardiogram, just making sure that everything's good. Last one I had was totally fine, and I had one shortly after my initial concerns and getting panicky, and that came back fine. So it wasn't a cardiac thing, but that physical sensation really started me down the road of having to struggle with more thoughts. And I don't know, it's just something about being at this point, this middle-aged point of looking at mortality a lot more than I should or ever wanted to. And for whatever reason, you get those moments where you psych yourself out and you think you might be panicky, and then there's probably subconsciously a bit of like mortality, I guess, concerns that go along with it that I'm not even aware of. I'm not saying that that's a conscious thought, but I'm sure that there's an underlying theme there. So getting back after the trip with my daughter for days was just very tired. You would have thought that I ran into a burning building and rescued a whole family or something. It just, but I still was able to go through the motions, get up, go to work. It was more difficult than what it needed to be, though. And I still feel a little headachy from time to time. There's some physical discomfort that comes and goes, but it's not consistent. All I know is I have a great support network, and not just with the behavioral therapist and psychologist that I occasionally see. And again, I'm putting myself out there like that. I don't think there's anything bad about that. You don't necessarily need to go through something like I have to go to these resources. If you think that you're in need, I would absolutely recommend it. And I'm stronger for it because otherwise I would even more so not be able to get out of my own way in trying to self-diagnose or self-resolve or self-support, where, no, I need that professional assistance to really help get me through. Again, if it wasn't for being your own champion, I would have never found out that I had a benign cyst on my pituitary, which in turn affected hormone production. And how are you going to correct that if you don't know that there's something wrong? So I had a lot of good open ears to kind of say, let's go through this, let's go through that. But it really continued with my bringing it up and just saying, hey, what about testosterone? And it wasn't a grab of like, oh, hey, I want to, I think I have low T or something like that. But ultimately, that's what it turned out to be. And I think that was a major factor. So it wasn't a solve-all or be-all, end-all of the onset of the initial panic attacks from last year, but it definitely had a big part in it. And at this point, it's trying to get out of my own way. And I guess my point in bringing all this up, I know there's a degree of vulnerability here. And I think with complex context, we have to step back and understand that the internet, the way that it presents so much, you have so many ads with folks saying, I take this pill, I take this cream, I use this hair dye, I buy these clothes. Everything seems like it's supposed to be such an ideal scenario. The reality is, I get worried about the state of the world now and as we continue forward, because this United States of business is not about truly caring for the well-being of people. What I've seen is the continued, use of folks as bargaining tools for political gain, for corporate greed. And I try not to involve myself in that, but it's hard to stay away from that when it's always ever present and in your face. And you combine that with just the stresses of trying to get through your professional responsibilities in line with what you're hoping to accomplish, where you're hoping to grow, the survivability of helping to support a family. It's a lot. And you can't do it all, and you can't solve it all in one day or in one sitting. And I find that I think about that more than probably what I should. And that kind of goes back to the what ifs is, what if? What if I happen to get behind on a bill? What if I happen to have an unforeseen expense? Or what if somebody passes away who I care about? Those things might happen. Some of them will happen. I can't stop what is inevitable. And I guess just at a certain point when you realize, holy cow, you feel like you're still in your early 30s, but you're really 10 years older than that, and you've kind of reached a midpoint, or at least, with the blessings from beyond, you hope it's a midpoint and not further along. You just want to really make the most of every day and make sure that something that seems out of whack, you feel off, you feel like you have a headache, you feel like you have a body ache, that it's just that and no more, especially knowing that you have a couple of wonky things going on. Again, genetic heart valve defect and a pituitary gland cyst. Benign is the word here, is the gem word. So be it. And there's things, like I said, there's preventative measures to continue making sure that I maintain that. Diet has been, I think, adjusted pretty greatly from, say, a year and a half ago. My cholesterol is the best it's ever been, which is a shame that I had to kind of get to this point to reassure that the efforts that I was making was worth it, but it was. And I do enjoy yoga, but I'm at a point where I guess I expect better from myself. I've gone through this the past year, and I feel like I've definitely grown and I've learned a lot. And I want to continue to move forward and not psych myself out about past instances of struggle that over time and with effort I've been able to tackle. I want you, the listener, to understand this isn't a sob fest. This is me trying to give you perspective of my own experience and wanting to let you know that if you're like me, you have days where you don't feel motivated. You have days where you know you have a beautiful family and support network that even knowing they'll be at your side if you need them, it's not, I don't want to say enough. It's just, it's not the guarantee that you have nothing to worry about because life happens. But at the same time, you don't want to have a day-to-day of what ifs. What if that thing I'm feeling is actually, it wasn't caught? Or what if, I mean, I've had so many tests months ago just to make sure that I was okay. You know, some testing not traditional in these means, but based off of some family history of other stuff, we said, let's put it out there. And, you know, everything has been good. So that's a blessing unto itself. But there are still those days where you wake up and you feel like, oh, like I want to do good. I want to contribute. I want to help people. I want to feel good about what I do day to day. And I want to be positive about it. And sometimes it's hard to maintain that mindset when you're focused on yourself or your well-being or the thought of something happening. It's not a great struggle to try and fight with every so often, but it's one that, you know, what am I going to do? I have no choice but to try and continue that and ask for understanding and love from people. And I'm no less of a person for it. And I want you to understand, if any of this is relatable, you're no less of a person for feeling like there's more to life than what you're contributing because you just have more to give, or you have dreams, you have selfish hopes, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you a bad person because you want to experience things that you haven't, or that you want to ensure that you're safe when you're not sure that you are because you went through something that provided a bit of emotional trauma that you're still working through. It's a difficult game to play, and I know that's probably not the best wording for it, but it's a challenge. And I don't want anybody to take for granted the fact that if you're able to wake up and you can go through your routine and not really have conscious worries about yourself or your well-being, consider that a blessing. Really consider that a blessing. Because I was like that. And I hadn't had anxiety issues for 20 years. And all of a sudden, I'm like, why now? You know, I've already, the death of one of my parents is, you know, in the rearview mirror quite a long time ago. Like, it's far back there. Marrying my wife that's back there. Us having our daughter, that's back there. So just the timing of it, I couldn't really associate it to any particular life event or something like that. So it was very random, but there are struggles. And in this country, usually, and this isn't to say that the industry, the healthcare industry, and specifically mental health industry, isn't aware or wanting people to have comfort on a day-to-day basis, but generally speaking, as a whole, this country doesn't put a lot of focus on people's mental health and just general stability and happiness. Yes, as of late, you have the very, I guess, half-hearted marketing of a mental health awareness month. Well, that's nice. But awareness is awareness. Awareness isn't really the promotion of telling people you should pursue a mental health wellness. That's a whole different thing. Awareness is awareness. It's no different than when, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware that there are women who get breast cancer every single day that don't need to. I feel like the human life has been turned into a bargaining tool. And when you can find yourself a team of people that really genuinely care and are going to give you the best resources that are allowed to them, that is really just reassuring. I guess my disappointment is I know that there are other resources that these medical professionals and in physical and mental health, they only will have so many resources provided to them based off of certain, again, human life bargaining tool. There's certain corporations, certain things that, again, I don't want to turn this into a big conspiracy theory. This is not what the intent of the show is, but the reality is it's no mistake that we see as many damn pill commercials and treatment commercials for everything. Everything has to be this special treatment because something's off, right? You're not urinating in the bowl properly. Oh, there's a pill for that. You're balding. There's a cream for that. You have wrinkles. There's an injection for that. You have, I don't know, weird dietary reaction. Oh, there's a pill for that. I mean, really, rather than all the pills and the creams and everything, we should just be provided the quality foods and beverages and the hard work of organic labor and agriculture and just everything that goes with it to ensure a quality life. I don't really touch fast food much these days. It's gotten to the point where it's just not attractive. Like I don't enjoy the taste of most of it anymore. And I think the reason for that is as I've continued to get older, my body is like, dude, you're really not in that much of a hurry that you can't have something of quality. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Because I don't even like the taste of most of that anymore. I'm just saying there's a lot of what we put in our system and what's exposed to us that I think brings about a lot more health issues and trouble than what it needs to be. And maybe that's part of my anxiety revisiting. Maybe I got too used to using smart devices on the regular. That blue light can be a killer towards your eyes, but people don't generally talk about how it can be a killer on your back and your neck. Your posture is affected when you're using a smart device, and yes, the eyes are the first thing people want to go to, but there's a whole bunch of other things that go with that. And just think about how often we use our devices all the time, right? Why do we have things that are organic versus not organic? Like, why are we having a tiered structure of the grade and the quality of the foods that we put in ourselves? Is that not a little weird? It's like saying, now, what would you rather have? Would you like to spend more money and put things with less pesticides and chemicals in you? Or would you like to take the standard deduction and just put the crap in that an overseeing entity says it's fine enough because, you're going to die someday anyway, so what's the difference? That worries me. That's the kind of thing where it's like, you hear about ingredients that we allow in our foods, and other countries won't even touch it. There's some things that are banned outright. I think about stuff like that, and I think about how I would like for us as a people to not continue to play dumb. And I don't mean the people who are experiencing the things. I'm talking the people in charge that keep saying, no, there's no recession, and no, there's no rate cuts needed, and no, our foods are just fine. There's a lot of things that are right, but there are so many things that are in the crapper. Our food sucks. It absolutely does. It's not quality. It is affecting our health, and our body and mind are connected. This development of technology that we have in the United States is a blessing and a curse. It's really great to see some of the tools that are available to us, and it's also really sad to see some people low-key addicted to social media or use of the internet, not for research purposes or for bettering interest in a hobby, but because we always have to compare ourselves and our lives to the lives of others that we know or others who we don't even know and want to replicate our lifestyle after. That is very emotionally awkward at best. And a lot of the diseases that unfortunately have been around for a long time usually tie into something to do with either poor diet or, there is a mental health component to it as well. For some things, of course, I'm not going to deny the fact that just genetically sometimes there are things that people get that you really can't prevent, quote unquote, but that's not to say that there aren't viable treatments that are not intrusive to one's well-being to get to the other side and continue with their longevity. But we price the hell out of everything so that people have to wonder, can I even afford it? Is it worth playing roulette with my life because I have subpar insurance or I don't at all? My anxiety issues, I suppose some of them have gone to the forefront because I think of that. And I probably think bigger than what I should because I can't change the world. I can only hope that the world understands that it needs changing and that everybody is willing to actually make the effort, not just moan and complain that we have political divisiveness, not moan and complain about boomers versus millennials. It's just all that. I've heard it all. I've seen it all ad nauseum. Like, enough. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. Who gives a crap? I don't care. And these are the things that I've tried to make a conscious effort of avoiding And no matter how much you do, it's hard to just completely ignore that. And I think those things over time have probably contributed a little bit in addition to my own issues, and just kind of brought out my anxiety after, 20 years of not really having to deal with it. I suppose there is a benefit of reassuring that I am strong and that there are people who care and that there are ways of trying to get to the next level and getting better. It's not easy. It's really not. I suppose from a general standpoint, I'm just really disappointed in how our country acts and how so many have just abandoned, I guess, loving thy neighbor. Why don't we? Why are we always looking to criticize? These things just have contributed to my wanting to focus more on my family and what I can help. And it's hard when you live in such a world of advertising and pushing things down the throat. Like if I've said this before, I'm a public transportation guy. I love trains, buses, modes of transport like that. Huge into it. Like I'm tired of seeing the advertisements with the girls, the stock photos with like the big breasts in your face that go, hey, if you're looking for something, like click here, or even just regular people, I guess. I've come across some things, like if I'm on a Reddit group and just, I like the subreddit's Contagious Laughter, or I think it's called Animals Are Derps or Animal Derps. Those things make me laugh. I feel good about that. And then I come across some random stuff that some weird cockamamie algorithm thinks I'm interested in. And it's like an early 20s girl that will have, very little on and will say, would you say hi to me if you met me at a mall? And I'm thinking, why would you put that out there? Like not knowing, like, and you might be saying, holy cow, Rob Impact is all over the place today. No, I'm trying to say that these things all together, the financial worries, the financial crap state that this country is in, people just looking to survive, the terrible food that's been deemed safe, even though most of it isn't with regular consumption, the continued attention that people are seeking, that you're trying not to give any attention to, but technology says, no, I want to put this in your face. Or people are saying, I want to put me in your face and have you think you should give me attention. Like, I just want to be healthy and happy, and I want the same for my family. And I want the same for you as the listener. You deserve it. And I deserve it. And I deserve to be able to be okay with being barely middle-aged and having aches and not thinking that they're more than what they should be. And I've been there, and I'm getting back there. And sometimes we just need reassurance. We just need some hugs. We need a genuine community again. And I would like to think that if that was the case, my anxiety and my panic and the people that I care about and even the people I have not and will never meet who may have these thoughts of, I don't want to have pills shoved in my face. I don't want to have salaciousness advertised to me. I just want to laugh and feel good and feel healthy and live a happy life. I want that for everybody else no differently than I want it for me. And it's sad because I don't know if I can ever make that much of a difference. I have to worry about me first. So worrying about people in mass, it's more of a mental strain than what I'm at a point to handle. And I just wish that we could all get together and realize from just a human being level. And by saying this, I'm talking to corporations and lobbyists and everybody in power that has say over what people consume and what people are exposed to. Like, we just want to be happy. And some people are going to say, God, that's such a subjective term. I'm saying it in this fashion as people deserve to feel good in body. They deserve to feel good in mind. They deserve to feel loved in heart. And we're not sustaining a culture in this United States of business that looks out for the people. And no degree of ignoring will allow somebody to be completely separated from the injustices that are out there day to day unless you go off the grid. Realistically, no one's going to tell my 9.5-year-old we're going off the grid. And I don't want that for her. She deserves to be exposed to the better parts of life. I just hope that as time goes on, people can understand that there are ways to make money and gain loyalty that don't involve sacrificing the human condition. I want that for you. I want that for me. I want to feel like I can go somewhere and not have to worry that people don't have my best interest or that I don't have their best interest. I appreciate your being willing to be here during what ended up being probably more of a rant-filled episode than what I thought. Struggles are real. Being aware of your strength is so much of the battle. I guess I just want us all to be able to give each other a hug and say, listen, I worry too, but we have each other. Because that's real life. If you have a question or comment, feedback about the show, I would absolutely encourage it. You're more than welcome to reach out. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/complexcontext1. You can also find us on X, the former Twitter. Our username is @complexcontext1. And, pardon me, my headphone cable keeps hitting the microphone, so I don't want you to think I'm playing the bongos back here. You can email us also. We would love an email. complexcontextshow@yahoo.com. Feel free to pass along our show. I would think our next episode will be a little less Friday afternoon special. I could be dating myself with that term. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google that. Or maybe not. Maybe I don't want to date myself like that. But I want to thank you for your time. As always, do what you do. Do it often. Do it well. Just don't do anything I wouldn't do, and you'll be doing all right. I'm Rob Impact. Thank you so much. You take care.
Visit the show's website at complexcontext.podbean.com. Complex Context is a Mass Ed Media production.